Hi everyone, I'm Scott.
I'm Lewis.
And we are from 5 Osteo Chiro, and here's another video from us on movement. Now, before we get started, just quickly, please like and subscribe to our videos. If you've got any comments, please leave them. And if you find this content to be helpful to you or anybody you know, please share it with them, because we're all about the benefits of movement and how that's going to create you great long-term health. However, let's get into today.
Yeah, what's the topic today, Scott?
Today we're going to talk about how just the overall benefits of movement. So to begin with, we're going to talk about just when you start as a kid, you do a lot of moving, and then when you get a little bit older, you do less moving, and then as we sort of get into work and everything, we do less and less movement, and movement probably becomes more of a chore, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's how most people sort of view it, like, just sat down 8 hours a day working.
You get tired.
Yeah,
definitely.
Really wants to do it, so. Yeah.
That's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to break it down in regards to sort of the different stages of life, so you can get an understanding, because not a lot of people think about this, right? But you move a lot as a kid. They reckon, I think from the research, it says you do about 6 to 8 hours of movement a day as a kid. And if you think about it, when you're really young, you did a lot of playing, right? Running around with the kids in the street, getting out and about, and just
pretty much all I did back then. Yeah, just like always moving constantly. I think that's pretty much all I was doing as a child. Playing in the garden, kicking a ball at the park, climbing trees.
Then we turn into teenagers.
Yep.
So when we're teenagers, we definitely move less. Naturally, you're tired, you're going through change. However, pretty much for most of us, it comes down to when we're doing sport or we're training for sport is when we're moving the most. Around that, we're probably not moving as much as we used to when we were, younger in primary school. So we definitely start to decrease our movement during that stage, which then progresses more when we finish school and start working.
100%. I think part of that as well, like what I found is I started moving less after finishing school because there was less options for sport as well. So that's something that played into that. It's harder to, there's less access, it's harder to get into movement.
You don't have that structured school sport, right? You just got to go out and find your own sport in regards to club sport or in regards to social activities, but you don't have that structured, every Wednesday, Friday, whatever it may be for your school, you go and do sport and you do physical activity, right?
100%. So you've almost got to motivate yourself to do that, and I think that's a lot of the issues with why people don't start exercising.
And there's a massive transition, unless you're somebody who enjoys going to the gym. Most people, when they finish school, they transition to either going to university, going to TAFE, getting a job, or travelling. And it's not a thing where you then go, okay, cool, I'm going to set aside exercise time or stuff like that. You're transitioning into a different lifestyle. So exercise sort of gets lost a bit in amongst through there.
Gets left behind a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Then you start to progress through to working. So once you get a career and you get that up and running, then you definitely stop working or stop exercising anywhere near as much, because you get tired of work, right?
It's a complete sort of 360 or 180, I should say, from this point here that we brought up. So children moving 6 to 8 hours a day throughout play, whereas when we're adults, we're sitting 6 to 8 hours a day. So it's complete sort of total opposite.
And let's be honest, in today's world, everything's getting more technology driven, and we're spending more and more time sitting because the 9 to 5 job sort of doesn't exist anymore, right? People, we hear about people all the time, they do long hours. When they get home, they can still do emails, they can do all sorts of different work stuff still. So there's still more and more sitting going on.
Yeah, exactly. And then I feel like when people do then decide to, okay, I've been sitting all day, maybe I'll go do some movement, they go to the gym and they do their favourite exercises, let's say, and that's...
Well, I think also people don't know what exercises to do, right? Like if you break it down and say to this person on the street, if you could go to the gym for half an hour, what exercise would you do? What exercise would be beneficial? I don't think most people would know, because we haven't educated people as to, if you've got 3 times a week, half an hour, you can go and do some gym activity. What should you do?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
What should you do? Well, I think, first of all, at least you're going to the gym 3 times a week. That's a good start.
Which is good, yeah.
Any movement is good
definitely.
movement. But then once you're sort of at that stage, if you're doing the same movement over and over again, it's good to get some variety with the movement,
Yeah, I think also too, right? If we said to people, what are the 3 things you do, it'd be move through lots of different ranges so that you're showing your body, I want to be able to move in ways that I don't do all day. Because as a kid, you used to move your body in heaps of ways, right? But then you start to decrease that as you get older. I think number 2 would be making sure you do some cardio, so some moderate intensity cardio for a good 15 to 20 minutes when you're at the gym. And the other one is doing some weights. Like, it doesn't have to be a heavy weight, but just make sure you're doing some weights and you're working your muscle with underload of the weights, because all the different activities have different effects on your body. So we'll get into that a bit later, but the different effects has different health benefits, which then means that you're going to have more longevity of health.
100%. So definitely, those three are the sort of foundations, I feel like, for movement going forward. So yeah, what that looks like, we'll get into that later in the video. Something that's coming up for me now, I remember at uni, one of my professors, he works in private practice as well, and he was always saying that he judged how people came in on their ability to climb a tree, which I thought was interesting as well.
Climb a tree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is sort of
different.
random. But a lot of the times we've lost the ability to do that as a kid. True. You're doing all that, but like how many people can actually climb a tree?
And
how
many people
as
even
humans, we're supposed to be like, we're made for climbing trees.
You read history, right? It's all about the hunter-gatherer sort of style lifestyle, right? Like back in the day, it was about getting food, and you had to be able to go out and go across all different terrains to be able to get food, and that's what the body is designed to do, right? It's designed to be able to move so you can go out and get food and build shelter, etc., etc.
Chased by the big scary lion as well. Yeah, run real fast for 20 minutes.
If you're in Africa, definitely.
Yeah, sure.
So we sort of like, if you go back to those concepts, right, and think about what your life looks like now, for most of us, we couldn't climb a tree.
No. Yeah.
I don't think I'd even attempt to climb a tree,
no.
And I'm pretty active.
True.
Yeah.
I'm pretty active, yeah.
But it's a great way to be able to have even if it's just a mental assessment, right?
Yeah.
Would I attempt to climb a tree?
It would really depend if there was a tree house at the top of the tree for me. If there's something up there, then definitely. But yeah, who's climbing trees these days?
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into a few more of the details, and we'll even give you some numbers and some stats on what's important. So we're going to break down now just basically if you went to the gym or you want to get back into some exercise. So you haven't been exercising for a while, you're in your 30s, 40s or 50s, the two types of exercise to do. So the first one's going to be, we're going to talk about cardio, so going for a walk or a run or doing something which gets your heart rate going. And then Lewis is going to take over and do some
strength and resistance training, which is essential for maintaining muscle mass, bone density, and metabolic health throughout life.
Yeah. So let's start with some cardio. So basically, let's say you have done no exercise since you left school. If you can go out now and go for a walk and say you could walk for 20 minutes and you don't feel puffed, then that's a positive sign.
It's a good, good starting point.
Yeah, when you do cardio, you work on your heart and you work on all the arteries in and around through your body. Now, your heart and all your arteries, they're all muscles, so they're going to expand and contract. So as you start to do some exercise and you start to walk, you expand and contract and you work all those muscles. And all muscle, doesn't matter if it's your bicep muscle, your heart muscle, you want to work them so they can maintain their efficiency and they can work well. So cardiovascular wise, a great way to get started is just to go for a walk. If you can go for a walk for 20 minutes, 3 times a week, you're going to start to improve your overall health. Ideally, you want to do 5 times a week. However, just as a low barrier to entry, right? Because you don't want to start to do some exercise and get tired, get bored, feel like it's too challenging. You want to just bring it in slowly. So to start with some cardio, start with walking for half an hour, 3 times a week, build that up to half an hour, 5 times a week. And if you start that from the age of about 40, by the time you get to 80, you're still going to have really good heart health, or much better heart health and much better overall health.
Yeah, you're just going to have a better quality of life. You're going to have the ability to, when you're older, you've got a lot more time available to do the things that you want to do. And if you don't have the cardiovascular sort of fitness to do that, then you're going to not have a very good time when you're older too.
And keep in mind, this is a start point. You don't have to finish here, but just as a start point, it's a nice, simple, easy way in, walking. It's a great exercise, it's great for your health, and it's a nice, easy way in. You can always progress it and make it more intense down the track. However, just to get yourself started, get started on some cardio. However, also get started on some weights. Yeah,
on some weights. So just like cardio has a pretty low barrier to entry, you can just sort of put on your walking shoes, go for a walk. Same with strength and resistance training. It can start with something as little as doing some push-ups up against the wall if we need to. So we can start somewhere really simple, go from there. But
kitchen bench.
Yeah, How good is the kitchen bench push-ups when you're making dinner? Just bang out a couple.
Do a couple of triceps.
As well. They're looking.
Kitchen bench is very. They make me. I'm 40 these days.
You got to keep it up. Exactly. So strength and resistance training, essentially we need muscles to move. The muscles are on top of our bones. That's what contracts and relaxes to allow us to move. the more muscular strength we have, essentially the easier we move.
Yeah, definitely.
Assuming we're also doing mobility work throughout there, the muscles are staying nice and loose. But yeah, we need muscle mass to do the things we want to do, similar to what you were sort of saying before, Scott. But also in terms for us aging, our skeletal health is going to be really important for fall prevention, which I think over the age of 70, falls are a very common cause of death.
And one of the leading causes, right? If you fall and you break your hip, then the correlation of longevity decreases because you stop moving as much.
Yeah, so the really reason for that is because if Nana falls over and breaks her hip, hopefully she doesn't, then the amount of time that you, so 2 weeks, all it takes is 2 weeks for muscles to start atrophying, to get smaller.
Decrease.
So yeah, when Nana falls, hurts her hips, everything gets smaller muscle-wise, and she goes to move, and she really just doesn't have the strength to do that. So
and then a lot of people won't move because they find it really difficult.
It's a negative cycle. So best thing we can do for that is start as soon as you can to build that resistance, build that strength.
And also, if you start when you're younger, if touch wood it doesn't happen to you, but if you do happen to have a fall, then you're starting from a better base. So getting the fitness back is easier. And your time off your feet will be less because you already have more strength and more flexibility. So it's the little things you do when you're younger that you will be really grateful for when you get older, because they can really help with if you do have a fall or any of the different health conditions.
But also decreases all-cause mortality as well.
Yep. So
that is all things that will...
If you want to live for a long time, you want to be able to make sure you can keep going, right?
Exactly. So starting now, that's a good way to sort of future-proof a lot of those issues, to sort of, I guess, make sure that those don't happen, to put it bluntly.
Well, you're decreasing the chances, right? It's the cumulative effects over time of doing the exercise, and it doesn't have to be hard, but it's just about actually doing exercise and doing the two types of exercise, right? The cardio and the muscle strengthening stuff.
So that's definitely a good place to start.
Yep, definitely. So we'll do some more videos down the track about how you can expand out on that. But today we just wanted to discuss a nice starting point, a nice, simple, easy starting point about, one, the benefits of exercise and the importance of starting from a young age. So basically as young as you can. Obviously you move a lot when you're a kid, but if you can get into some good habits when you're in your 20s, 30s and 40s about movement, and then which sort of movements to do. So for us, cardio and using your muscles. If you can do that throughout the course of life, when you get into your older years, you're going to have much better overall health. And there's plenty of science on this. And you're also just going to have a better quality of life because you're going to be able to get out and do stuff. You're going to feel better. Your mental health is going to be so much better. Your physical health is going to be so much better, which improves your overall well-being. And you're going to really be able to enjoy the later years with the kids, the grandkids, whatever you want to do, get on a cruise, whatever it is.
100%. So if we could leave the viewers with one note, I'd like to say this. I think it should be about joy. Movement shouldn't always be serious. Make sure you're dancing, you're playing sports, you're in the garden, you're chasing kids,
that's great,
your grandkids.
Yeah.
The best exercise is the one that you're actually going to do. So make sure it's something you enjoy.
And cardio can be dancing, right?
Cardio can be dancing.
Cardio can be chasing the grandkids.
Can be chasing the grandkids.
Yeah, it can be any of those things.
Can be all of those things.
But that's great advice. Joy.
So remember that, dear viewer. Thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like, give us a comment, share it with some of your friends if you think they'd enjoy it, and follow along for more information about health, wellness, all things movement.
Yes.
And
we'll keep you informed of all the latest research and how movement is just great for you.
It is.